Okay, so generative AI has pretty much exploded into our lives, and it's promising a massive revolution in, everything from creativity to productivity. But what are the hidden costs? Today, we're going to break down a really interesting report from the tech research firm Virtualization Options LLC. They've been digging into the serious legal and, operational messes that are bubbling up just under the surface of this amazing tech.
And, the report kicks things off with a question that really gets to the heart of it. Look, the point here isn't to be anti-AI, not at all. It's about being smart. It's about being prepared. Because the rush to adopt these tools, sometimes a little recklessly, is leading to some pretty serious consequences that we're only just now starting to get our heads around.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. We'll start with that core tension of AI being a double-edged sword. Then, we'll dive into the big legal fights over copyright and code. After that, we'll look at privacy, data leaks, and those weird AI hallucinations. Then we'll actually put a number on the cost of these failures, and finally, we'll talk about the report's call for some much-needed safeguards.
All right, first up, let's talk about AI as a double-edged sword. Because that's really what it is, right? This is where mind-blowing innovation crashes right into a world of, a whole lot of uncertainty. So on one hand, you've got this absolutely revolutionary power. I mean, these systems can crank out incredibly sophisticated, human-like stuff. Text, images, code, in just minutes. It's really democratizing creativity and speeding up development in ways that, frankly, felt like science fiction just a few years ago.
But, and this is a big but, here's the other edge of that sword. This mad dash to adopt the tech has uncovered a really troubling pattern of failures. We're talking expensive lawsuits, huge data leaks, and some serious reputational damage. And the crazy part, as the report points out, almost all these problems could have been avoided.
And that tension, that's the perfect lead-in to our next big topic, the absolutely unprecedented legal battles over intellectual property that are shaking the foundations of the entire tech industry.
Okay. So the absolute core of this legal mess is one simple question. Just because something is out there on the internet for everyone to see, an image, an article, a piece of code, does that mean it's fair game to be scraped up and used to train a commercial AI? Creators are shouting no, and that is kicking off a legal firestorm.
And believe me, this isn't just one isolated fight. It's a war on multiple fronts. You've got massive class action lawsuits from artists and authors whose work was used for training. You have huge disputes over AI code assistants that are violating open source licenses. And then there are artists suing because these models can mimic their unique signature styles perfectly on demand.
And some of the evidence coming out in these lawsuits is wow. It's pretty shocking. In some cases, artists have shown that images generated by an AI actually have mangled, half-visible fragments of their original watermarks still in them. I mean, that's pretty much a digital smoking gun. It suggests the AI didn't just learn a style, it basically copied the homework. And you can really feel how high the stakes are when you read this quote from a group of major news publishers. For them, this isn't just about a few articles. They argue it threatens the entire business model of professional journalism.
All right, so moving on from copyright, there's a whole other can of worms here. And this one hits a little closer to home for a lot of us. Privacy, data leaks, and, AI just plain making stuff up.
The report lays out just how scarily easy this can happen. Picture this, it's a totally real-world scenario. Some employees at a company use a public AI chatbot to help summarize confidential strategy documents. Well, the AI learns from that data. Then a few weeks later, someone at a competitor company asks the chatbot just the right questions, and boom, it spills the beans, laying out the first company's secret plans. It is a corporate nightmare scenario.
And that brings us to this other really bizarre problem, something called an AI hallucination. This is when an AI just confidently makes something up that's completely false. And it's not just getting a date wrong. It invents this incredibly detailed, believable fiction, sometimes even creating fake sources to back itself up.
And this isn't just some funny glitch. These hallucinations have serious, real-world consequences. The report documents a case where a popular chatbot started telling users that a sitting mayor had been convicted of embezzlement. It made up a whole fake criminal history, causing a huge political and personal crisis for that mayor.
And it's not just politicians either. This is hitting professionals hard. There was a very high-profile case where a lawyer used an AI for research and ended up submitting a legal brief to a judge that cited 6 different court cases. The only problem?
none of them were real. The AI just invented them, leading to sanctions for the lawyer and, you can imagine, a complete courtroom disaster.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, what's the bottom line here? What's the real cost of all this? Well, the report actually puts a number on it, and it's huge.
Get this. The report estimates the industry-wide financial hit from these failures is already sitting at around $12 billion. And that number covers everything, from the giant legal settlements to the cost of having to pull a product from the market.
And all this legal gray area, it's like putting the brakes on innovation itself. The report found that a whopping 67% of AI companies have actually delayed launching new products, specifically because they're worried about these legal and copyright issues. That is a direct blow to progress.
But the damage isn't just about money, right? When you look at the breakdown, sure, direct financial penalties are the biggest chunk. But look what's a very close second: reputational damage. Losing the trust of your customers can be way more devastating than any single fine. And then you have regulatory sanctions that can just stop a business in its tracks.
So, with all these risks piling up, you have to ask, where do we go from here? What's the solution? Well, the final part of the report is all about that, a call for real, practical safeguards.
And this right here is maybe the most important takeaway from the entire report. These failures weren't caused by some out-of-control technology. They were caused by a lack of discipline. Nearly every single major incident could have been prevented just by using the kinds of risk management practices that have been around for years. The problem isn't the AI, it's us.
You know, the report uses this perfect metaphor for this idea. These big public failures aren't just disasters to be swept under the rug. They're lighthouses. They're bright warnings that are showing all of us exactly where the dangerous rocks are, so we can finally chart a safer course toward using this technology responsibly. And that really leaves us all with one final and, I think, pretty critical question. The technology is here. Its power is absolutely undeniable. So the choice we're facing now isn't whether to stop it, but how we're going to steer it. Are we going to learn from these early, very expensive mistakes, or are we just going to keep sailing full speed ahead, right toward the shipwreck?